And like people ask, like, how did it happen? How did it work? And it's like, God, like there was no way that should have worked.
Yeah.
Because we were 20 and under running a business that we sold thousands of coffees in a small town of 6,000 people. Like it was not feasible. It should
That's
not
not supposed
have
to happen.
worked. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like we had lines that blocked traffic. Like it was insane. And people would be like, oh, like who owns this? And like, oh, the guy over there. Like the child?
Yeah.
The child owns
I was going to ask where
this?
his parents were.
Yeah, like this is his parents. And they're like, no, like you guys don't understand. Like he owns this.
Born and raised in Arkansas.
Yes.
Right?
Born and raised in Arkansas. I lived there until I was 18. And then I was like, I've got to get out of this small town. So then
I got a small town.
I dipped, yeah.
Do you listen to country music?
I don't.
Okay.
I grew up on country music, but I was like,
but you were embodying the getting out of this
I was,
light town kind of guy.
I was in the sticks
Yeah.
with the Hicks. Like it was not a good thing.
So that's really interesting because I think a lot of people may think that it's maybe harder for them to start a business or do something when they are in a small town or in the middle of nowhere because like where's the traffic, where are the customers?
Yeah.
It's a one light town. But isn't that kind of what you did a little bit?
So I had a 2-light town, thankfully.
Okay.
But I personally think that if you're in a smaller town, you have more of a chance to succeed because it's a smaller town, small feel, like community wise.
Like
and
shop local.
Yeah. And that's the only reason like I feel like my business was so successful. My family was well known because they're also entrepreneurs, business owners. But then at the end of the day, it was the people that supported me. They knew me, they knew my name, which was great. And like I worked at the local restaurants before I opened my business. So I was known, but it wasn't because of my name that made me successful. It was the products and the quality of service that we offered. But because of the small town, they always wanted to support local, shop local. And that's kind of what made that successful.
So I know it's a food truck. I don't know exactly what you served.
Yes. So it was a coffee food truck. My goal was to buy a Tesla. That was
so
why
it was reverse.
we started.
So you said, how am I going to buy it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was 16 years old. It was a sophomore in high school. COVID hit. COVID hit in March of 2020, which is also when I turned 16. So I was 15 at the time brainstorming this idea. COVID hit. I was like, okay, what's going to happen? I didn't know if we were going to be an online school for just that 2 weeks, like they said, or if it was going to be 2 years, like it was. But I was like, I want a Tesla. I've always wanted to open a food truck. I've always wanted to be my own boss and business owner. Right. So my parents were like, okay, we will invest in you because they were entrepreneurs and they have businesses as well. We'll take a loan out of our business, give it to you as long as you can loan us the money back. And I was like, you know what? Let's try it. So it was a food truck. It was coffee, baked items, smoothie bowls. Everything was made from scratch. And it was a 18-foot trailer. During the time of running that, I had 2 or 3 employees at the time. Business was booming unexpectedly, but I was also waiting tables at night. So I didn't ever pay myself out of the business.
Okay. It's all reinvested back.
All reinvested because I was like, I can't afford to pay the girls that worked for me on top of myself. So as long as I can make my car, or at the time, my truck payment and any of the other like little bills that I had, I was fine. So I did that. And I also waited tables at night.
And that's how a lot of small businesses are right now.
Yeah. No, like you don't make money as a small business owner, typically, for at least I'd say the first 5 years.
Right.
You will gradually every year make more and more and more, but you won't be able to make a full-time living in a sense, depending on the rate of your growth.
So on that's interesting because I think it is such a coveted idea right now that everyone's like, I want to be my own boss. I want to work my own hours. I want to be an entrepreneur. And that just sounds so cool. And like, that's the thing to do. But do you think that people just don't understand like what actually goes into that? Because like, you're not paying yourself for like what, 4 or 5 years?
No. Yeah. And I feel like people want to be an entrepreneur, which I think is great. Full power to that. But I don't think they want to ever put in the work. They just want the title and the money that they think comes with it. But like I guess when we moved into out of the food truck into our brick and mortar, I was 17. I had 8 employees who were 20 and under. We were open 6 days a week.
Was that legal? Were you legal?
I think so.
Okay.
I hope so. I don't know.
Don't ask, don't tell. Okay.
Don't ask, don't tell. Yeah. So I had 7 employees at my absolute max, I think. They were all 20 or under.
Wow.
All above 16s. They legally could work for me.
Right.
And it was COVID, so everything was online. So the girls that worked for me were all in high school with me, or just graduated high school in 2020. And it was insane to say the least. If you imagine like a Dutch Bros / Seven Brew was originally from Northwest Arkansas, which is where I'm from. Okay. And it's like, imagine that, or like a Dutch Bros mixed with a Chick-fil-A. That's how we operated the drive-thru. Because it was a brick and mortar drive-thru. No one could come inside.
Okay. I'm very familiar with Dutch Bros.
So we had a very sweet coffee, and the reason we got the brick and mortar was because I waited tables there. So I waited tables there from the ages of 14 to 16, and he ended up retiring. COVID hit. He was a very big germaphobe, very big like clean freak, very OCD. Okay. Great guy. We don't talk anymore because of issues we had towards the end of the lease. But I worked there. He was retiring, and it was a big Mexican restaurant. So I was like, look, I want to. He never used the drive-through either until COVID. But I was like, I want to rent your building. You saw me evolve from the idea of the food truck to the actual creation to then you could see, and it was thankfully it was, or ironically, I guess, next door to the food truck. So we were side by side.
Okay.
So he got to literally see the lines of people outside the food truck. We got to a point where people did not want to stand outside in the food truck, and we grew to a large enough demand that we were able to grow our team and to have the brick and mortar drive through. We were open 6 days a week, but with entrepreneurs, I was working 80 hours a week. I was an AP honor student in high school doing all of that online. And like, that was crazy. I had no free time. I was dead. And like during the summer, I also opened another food truck, which was a shaved ice food truck on the lake.
Wow.
So I would work from like 6 a.m. and thank God for all of my employees that worked for me. Like they were incredible. But they would work for me. I was then at the coffee shop throughout the morning. I would leave about noon. We'd open the shaved ice food truck around 2 because we'd have to drive across the state line to the food truck. And then the girls that weren't working at the coffee shop would then drive and work at the food truck. And we were open to like 7 or 8 at night. And it was I think that was summer of 2021. That was the most probably exhausting summer I've ever had. It was like 12-hour days. And then my days off, I would drive to Fayetteville, which was about an hour from my hometown, and just to go to Sam's to get stuff at the coffee shop, to then drive an hour back, unload it, and then do it all again.
And you are 17? 16?
I was opened the food truck at 16. On my 17th birthday, I got the keys to, or a couple days before my 17th birthday, I got the keys to the brick and mortar, and then I actually closed it on my 18th birthday. So it was a little less than 2 years that we were open.
Wow. So the sleepless nights and like the no time, which a lot of people kind of romanticize like the sleepless nights, you know.
Yeah. It's like, all we do is live off of caffeine. It's like, until your heart stops beating. Like,
like, so when it's nonstop and there's no end, like it's just nonstop because there's always the next thing.
Yeah.
What do you like regret any of that?
That's a good question. The reason I closed the coffee shop in March of 2022 instead of May when I was graduating high school is because I had an all-time burnout. I was so sick of working, and I was so sick of people, not because my customers were awful. I love my customers. I would not be where I am without my customers. It was just so exhausting to be doing what I'm doing over and over and over. I was able to graduate high school or finish my classes a little early. So I didn't have much school either. And I was like, I just need a break and a breather. I have no clue what I'm doing, but I've just got to stop. So I don't regret what I did, because I don't think that now in my career that I have today, I wouldn't have the credibility and the work ethic that I do have today if it wasn't for that. But I do think that it definitely took a toll on me. But looking back, I probably would do it again.
That takes a lot of courage. Yeah. To be able to step out and like, you have the keys to something, like you have maybe responsibility, the weight of the responsibility to have employees, to have a lease, to have payments.
Yeah, like no one was making the payments but me. Right. No one was paying my employees and running payroll but me. Thankfully, my mother did help me with payroll because she does payroll for my parents' company.
Okay, nice.
So I had their help, and like, they were a big part of that confidence. But I mean, I've been an entrepreneur since I was born. I like to say, like, I was selling painted rocks at the campgrounds at 5 years old. I then started selling salsas and like bracelets in middle school. And then I started selling fidget spinners.
You couldn't have been in high school, because high school you were running.
High school I was running a coffee shop.
You were running brick and mortars. So
But yeah, in middle school, like when fidget spinners became popular, I started a fidget spinner company called Fidgetic Spinners.
Nice.
It was so stupid. But I sold fidget spinners. I don't think I ever gave them out though. Like, I didn't ever like fully succeed in that. But that was like a business endeavor. Then I started working for a family-owned restaurant at 13, which was illegal, but we live and learn.
You looked older.
Yeah, I was driving to work at 13 by myself on Saturday mornings. I was the one that was in charge of the money and the keys to get into this restaurant to open it at 13.
But it is Arkansas.
It was Arkansas. No, it was Arkansas. Like, nobody knew. It was a small town.
Yeah, exactly.
And like, I was I'm 6'4" and some change now at 19. It's like, even at 13, I was still almost 6 foot. So like, I had some height, but I still had a baby face. Yeah. But back to like where I got the confidence, it would really just be the people and like mainly my parents who believed in me, knowing like, okay, you're gonna be on the top of the world. Like, you've got this. We know that you can. And I don't think that if they wouldn't have trusted me in the amount of money that it took to start this business, and then seeing the money that was coming in, without that and the reassurance of my community, I don't think I would have been able to be as confident as I was. But then once I did that, and I was like, okay, I've done this at 16, 17, 18. I can probably do pretty much anything. So, I mean, I think all it takes is saying yes and not being afraid of working hard or investing. A lot of people, I feel like, fear everything. But for an entrepreneur, you can't fear the you can't, I guess, hold on to the money.
Sure.
And you can't fear losing the money because money is I don't even know, like a current
It's
in a
just
sense
fluid,
of it.
yeah.
It's going to leave
Comes
your
and
pocket. It's going to
goes.
come back in, and it takes money to make money. Sounds cliche. It's
Right.
one of the best pieces of advice I've ever gotten is if you want to make money, you have to invest in it, whether that's investing in yourself, whether that's investing in your business, like financially, like whatever it is, you've got to invest in something to make it grow.
Right. So did you go to college at all?
No. So that's one thing too. As an entrepreneur, I don't think you need a degree in entrepreneurship to be an entrepreneur. I was in gifted and talented and all of these like higher and honor education type programs throughout school, always pushed to be a college student. Even by my parents, no one in my family's ever had a 4-year degree, which it tracks because I also don't have a 4-year degree. But up until I opened the food truck, they were pushing me to college. They were going to help me go through college, and they were just really wanting me to have a 4-year degree because that I could fall back on. I then realized at 16 when I had the food truck and the business at 17, the brick-and-mortar, that my degree would sit on my wall because I would be my own boss. And that was a waste of $100,000. So I decided not to. My parents were super, I want to say upset, but they weren't because they still encouraged me not to go to college. Sure, I didn't want to, but they really were hoping that I would go to college. And then once I was like, look, I'm moving states. See you later. They were like, okay, you know what? Like, it's fine. He's not going to go to college. Maybe one day I'll go back just because I want to learn something. I would love to go to seminary maybe, but I don't think I'll ever, I mean, there's probably no chance that I'll go back to get a degree to then go into the work field because I knew, one, I don't like being told what to do. I want to be my own boss, but also it was just, I didn't want to waste those 4 years because like I'm now 19 doing what I'm doing now, and like I could be stuck in college living that college life, and it's not anything I've ever desired. So I didn't go to college. If you're going to be a doctor or like a lawyer or something, probably need a degree, but like for me, what I wanted to do, I never did.
What's interesting is that you said like to fall back on, like, oh, you know, might be nice to have a degree to fall back on. I think the ironic part is how many people in life go to college, get that degree, and then they can't even get a job with that degree, and then, or B, if they do, they're still at the mercies and the whims of the economy or their boss or the company's going. So like, how actually secure or safe is that to fall back on when that's all you have? And if that goes, then there's nothing to fall back on. So
100%. I don't feel like, I don't think a college education is as valued in the workplace as it was 20 years ago. Like when our parents were growing up and like getting into college. I mean, I had employees who were in college and they were going to college, and like some of them are still in college. Some of them are not. They chose a different route in like life, but I've never hired someone with an actual diploma in their hands because at the time they were all 20 or under. So they weren't able to like complete college.
What are your thought processes on people that are going to college that are going for entrepreneurship, business? You know, I'm going for business management. I'm going for
drop out. I'm just kidding.
But you were kind of like the epitome of like the entrepreneurial small business, starting from nothing. I'm going to be my own boss, right? And so when people are going to college to be that, does it ever like humor you a little bit because you're doing the opposite of what an actual entrepreneurship looks like?
I think that a lot, and like it may be a hot take, but I don't think that an entrepreneur can become an entrepreneur by having an entrepreneurial degree. I think that an entrepreneur it's born into you, and it's a work ethic trait that you were born with. I think it's like almost like a muscle, like you can work it and grow it and become stronger in that area of your life. But I don't think that just because you have a degree in entrepreneurship or business management that you can be an entrepreneur or manage a business. How
many people do you think are actually capable of being entrepreneurs? Because it's like you said, it's a very certain and special like trait, or just something you're kind of born with, or you work on, and maybe you don't have it, but you're so determined that you become it. How many people are actually capable of that?
I don't even know like what the statistic would be, but I would say probably under 10%, because a lot of people
have to be.
Because like entrepreneurs, they don't clock out. They also don't clock in. I mean, they might. I don't really know. But like, I've never clocked in or out. But that's the beauty of not being an entrepreneur, is if you work for someone else, you clock in, you clock out. When you clock out, you don't think of work anymore. Whereas like owning a coffee shop, or me now being a realtor, I never clock out. I try and Sabbath once a week where I try to clock out in a sense mentally, but like the mind's always running.
Still going.
And like that is a big determining factor too of working for yourself versus working for somebody else. Because if you're working for somebody else, you're only, I guess your time has a dollar put on it. Whereas an entrepreneur, your wealth could then be endless and uncapped, at least in real estate. So you're the one defining your worth rather than someone else.
That's the part I think that most people actually don't comprehend, that it's harder. It's funny. I did. Do you have Be Real?
I do. I did. I don't have it
You
anymore.
did. You don't have anymore?
Yeah.
So I'm a big Be Real guy.
Okay.
But like I almost always get on time. Like I'm like a,
nice.
my
Pro.
friends. Yeah, I'm a pro. But it's funny because I was at a coffee shop and I did a Be Real and I was like, work or something. And somebody commented, they're like, or private messaged me or whatever. Oh, you get to work at a coffee shop, like lucky, whatever. They didn't realize that I'd gotten there at 8 a.m. and the Be Real went off at 4 p.m. And I never left. I never even looked up. I went to the bathroom a couple times.
Yeah.
I was there for like 8 hours, just heading the laptop. And so like I love working at coffee shops, and I love that I get to do that. Like I love coffee. I can get out. Coffee shop feels good. It feels like I'm going to work.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's not like, okay, I'm at a coffee shop here 30 minutes. Yeah, and like I made my money. Now I'm going to leave.
I got my coffee. I'm going to post a photo on Instagram and say hashtag work from home. And then I go home and do nothing. And I think social media has a big toll on that too, of like, oh, look at my life working from home or being an entrepreneur or being my own boss. And it's like, that's great. But where's the realistic, chaotic day in the life that you're posting? Because I know that you're not waking up at sunrise and having your hot coffee and reading your Bible and then diving into emails at 8 p.m. or 8 a.m. And then like hopping on a team call at 9 and then having yoga. Like there's a beautiful aspect of work-life balance being an entrepreneur, because no one's telling me when to work, when not to work. But like this week has been one of the busiest weeks I've had. I say this year, it's literally week 3. Right. But like I almost forgot to eat lunch the past 2 days because I had so many meetings. I scarfed down tacos for lunch yesterday in a span of 3 minutes to then hop on my next meeting. Like it's not as beautiful as people portray it online.
One thing I've noticed is the more and more, obviously successful is hard to put like, define like what that looks like. But as far as they're really building something, I guess I like to say, they have very, very little or almost non-existent morning routines. Yeah. When you're actually working, it's not like, so I get up at 7 and I do 30 minutes. You don't have time for that. It's literally, you sleep and you're setting that alarm to like, okay, what's the max amount of sleep I can get before waking up. And then when the alarm goes off, it's like, wake up, like you're showering, you do whatever you can as fast as you can. Yeah. And then you're like out the door and you're just working. Like,
100%. I don't think also people realize as an entrepreneur, at least this is what I experienced and I've experienced for years now. You try and go to sleep and you're still thinking about work. And then you wake up and you still think about work and your mind's always running at 100 miles an hour. Right. And people wonder like, why do you talk so fast, or why are you so like scatterbrained and chaotic? It's like, I'm not. I'm organized mentally, like in here, but like when it comes out of my mouth, it doesn't make sense. Right. But then again, it's like, it's almost like the entrepreneurial language, and like other entrepreneurs get it. And like I can show them my calendar, like, I don't have time for this. And then we leave.
Here's like a productivity hack that I just accidentally discovered on. I literally just bought my new laptop. Finally got it set up like a week ago. Before I was running the MacBook Air from like 2018.
That's what I had before I got my Pro.
Okay, same thing. So it was starting to really slow down. I only had so much like running memory, so I would have too many tabs open. My Zoom calls would crash every once in a while because I just had too many things going at once. If I didn't stay on the Zoom screen and I went to like pull something else up, it wouldn't load. It was just like I needed a bigger, better computer. But something was like, oh, I don't have to. Like I didn't. Like I could get by, it was like, is that really worth the investment? Like upgrade. One of the biggest things that I've noticed about being productive is when you do have a faster computer, you can get into the flow of things. Yeah. And you don't have to wait for it to load and things you're copying, you're pasting, whatever, you can move. Yeah. And the second thing is I noticed what I would do is when my computer was loading, I would pull out my phone. So it's just loading. Yeah. Okay. So I'll pull out my phone, answer the text, check the DM, and then you're scrolling, you're swiping, and you're going through your thing, and then it's loaded, right? It's been loaded for a couple minutes now, but I'm like doing this, still and like, okay,
still scrolling.
5 minutes, 10 minutes later, put my phone down and get back to work. Okay, now I clicked on the next link. Now that's loading. Oh, I'm just gonna sit there. Yeah. And get my phone, right? But then it loads, and it's like another 5 minutes gone when I'm on my phone while it's loaded. And so I noticed that with a new computer that's fast, I'm not on my phone as much because there's nothing to load. So there's no waiting time, which when I would dig on my phone, I would cut in like another 5 or 10 minutes of it being loaded, but still being on my phone.
Goes back to investing in yourself, of like, you're always needing to invest in something, and like it's monetary. You're spending money on this MacBook, but like you're investing in yourself, you're investing in your productivity, your efficiency, which will then bleed into everything else in your life.
A lot of people don't invest into the things they use every day, whether that's your phone, that's your computer, that's your car. So you like driving a trash car, computer that old, slow, whatever. Yeah. Maybe you've got the iPhone 8, you just barely got Touch ID on it or something. Yeah. Everything you use every day is slow it's old. In a way, you kind of live a slowish, oldish life. And it's not that the goal is to be like trendy or like I have to have the newest thing, but it's like it is a productivity thing.
Yeah.
It's a speed thing. You're using that not just to make money, but that's something that you're like touching and you're using every single day.
Yeah.
How many people would spend $80 on a t-shirt,
Yeah.
but they spend $80 on a dress shirt? You're going to wear the t-shirt every day. You're going to wear the dress shirt once a month.
Yeah. So true.
It's something interesting to get your wheels turning. Like, what's something that I actually use every day that if it was higher quality or if it was better would actually improve my life and make it a higher quality day or more productive or me a better person, as opposed to investing in the things that you're going to use once a month, once a week.
That's such a good perspective switch too, of like,
right.
Especially the shirts. It's like, okay, you wear these shirts every day and you're spending less on those, but more on the dress shirts. And it's like, how are you presenting yourself then? And it's not saying that you have to have the absolute, like the nicest thing ever, but like you're investing in something.
I feel like a lot of people that point fingers at people, well, why did he buy that? I don't know how many people would be like, I would never buy a G-Wagon. They have the worst gas mileage. And it's ironic because the only people that complain about the G-Wagon's gas mileage are the people that can never buy one.
That don't have one, yeah.
They'll probably never buy one in their lives, which is unfortunate. But it's like, it's part of the cost.
Yeah.
It's a luxury car. 100%. And the people that buy it, they don't care that it's $5 to the gallon.
Yeah, they don't care.
Are you kidding me?
And I think it's too, like, people who don't, I think this is nothing like for people who are on like a salary will make X amount of dollars and their income is quote unquote capped. But like people, I mean, even those who do have a capped income, they choose of where their money is going to go, whether that's renting a nice building or buying a nice house or buying a nice car. Or if people like, for example, my parents, they love to eat out. They love to have luxurious dinners.
Sure.
And, like they'll spend $100 on a steak. No problem. But like, that's because they want to invest their fun money, quote unquote, either in like a trip or an experience or like a nice dinner. Like those are things that they choose to invest their money in. Where some people would rather not spend money on eating out. They'd rather put it elsewhere, like, I don't know, a car.
Right.
Or like they choose where their money goes. And I think it's super important too to acknowledge that like just because somebody has something nice doesn't mean A, it was given to them, and B, it's their money. So like, why are you trying to tell them how to spend their money? Because it's not yours. It's not in your account.
Right.
And when you spend your money, like people could say the same thing about you.
Exactly. One thing I found, and I've in no way been able to experience, for the sake of it, all the finer things in life. However, I've noticed that, and I'm sure it's kind of the same with you. Like every time you get in that Tesla, every time you still kind of hit that sense of gratitude.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I
doesn't
get
go
to
away.
do this, and like I get to drive this car.
It doesn't go away, and there's a little bit of a curve, but there's still always that little sense of like gratitude of like, what, you know, like that tangible item and stuff. And so when you invest in something, it's not like, oh, okay, well after a week it's gonna be like whatever. You're gonna feel like you're driving your old car again.
Yeah.
Or like the high is gonna wear off. When you actually invest in something that's high quality or something you use every day or whatever, that sense of like gratitude or appreciation never completely goes away.
No, I 100% agree with that too. And it's a good reminder of like, oh, I worked this hard to obtain whatever item it might be. It's like for me, my car, like that is my pride and joy. I love my car. I will never sell my car. Like I worked so hard to get that car. It took me 2.5 years of being persistent. Every time I get to drive in or every time I get to take someone on a ride in a Tesla that they've never been, like I get to experience their joy too.
Right.
And like, it's like, I am so grateful for the car that I get to drive. Not only does it save me money, but it's something that I wanted for so long and I got to work so hard for. And like, I finally achieved that. At any stage of an entrepreneurial journey, you're successful because you are the one that defines your success. But I also think it's super important for entrepreneurs not to look at what other people have. People who've been in the business longer, who have a larger company.
They see the end game.
Yeah. They're like, I want this. It's like, okay, well, they had to work for it just like you have to work for it. So don't idolize what they have and miss out what you have, because people tend to want what they don't have instead of being present and appreciative of what they do have. And I've been caught up in that too, of like, oh, I want to chase the money of like, I want to make X amount of dollars, or I want to grow this company to X amount of people. Or I want to hire my first assistant by the age of like 20, 21. Like, you set these goals, but they also have to take a step back and be like, okay, what are these realistic goals? Like, how can I actually make this feasible to the life that I want? And like, okay, let's say I get to the point, because I would love to make 6 figures a month. That would be incredible. Don't do that yet, but
it's coming.
Yeah. But it's like, okay, well, if I start making 6 figures a month, I can't just plateau, you know? So it's like, there's always room for growth, and you've got to acknowledge that, especially young entrepreneurs. They want what the 40-year-olds have, and I'm guilty of it. I want what the 40, 50, 60-year-olds have that have this big business. And even sometimes like my parents, they have a pretty large business in Arkansas, and like I'm always like, oh, I want this, and it's something that they have, and they're like, Kirklyn, you're 19. Like, calm down. Like, you are doing well off for what you have.
You're already way
age.
ahead.
Yeah. And they're like, you
average
will get
American.
there.
Yeah.
And like, just because you don't want to work 40 hours, because there's sometimes I'm like, well, I wish I could work from home. And like, I unplugged from my office last year of like, okay, I'm going to work from home and like condense my work. But it's like, I have the ability and the blessing of being young and to work long hours. I should work long and hard now. So then when I have a family and have a wife and have a, get to travel and to pour into my family, then it's like, since I don't have that now, I should work longer hours now and then be able to take a break and step back and not micromanage when I'm 30, 40 years old.
Right.
And be able to reinvest into my family rather than my company.
Have you been to Wild Ginger?
I have. I love Wild Ginger. It's so good.
We're talking about eating out. That's normally my go-to.
Yeah.
Is Wild Ginger. And it's not that expensive if you think about it. For a nice luxurious, like it's only like $30-$40 a plate, which is, if you're like taking someone else for a nice dinner, that's not bad at all.
Yeah. No,
and
I think Wild Ginger is
amazing.
a great spot. And like some people, like they'll go out and spend like Chipotle.
Right.
People back home deem Chipotle as expensive. I'm not saying Chipotle is quote unquote cheap, but like I can get a bowl and a drink for like $12, $13.
Right.
And like, in my opinion, that's a cheap meal. And maybe that's just because I'm in Nashville now and I'm back home in a small town. People think that that's an expensive meal, which I guess it is.
You know,
but
Chipotle
also,
burritos used to be like $6.
I did not know that. I did never have Chipotle. My first time having Chipotle was like 2020 or 2019, and it was in Kansas City. Like
that's actually where I met you, was at Chipotle.
We met at a Chipotle
Way back in the day. Well, not way back in the day. Like
what was it?
A year, 2 years ago.
October. What's your go-to Chipotle order?
So it depends how hungry I am.
Okay.
If I'm really hungry, then I get a bowl, and I get a tortilla on the side.
Okay.
And then I load up from the bowl. I mean, I don't load up crazy. I go white, black chicken. And then I've been trying to go with the medium salsa to the mall because I've heard like spicy is supposed to be better for you. We'll see. Then it's probably just a TikTok trend. and then I go lettuce and corn. So I actually don't do any dairy, not for health reasons, but I'm just not big on like cheese and sour cream. And then I get the bowl and I get the tortilla, and then I put like half of the bowl into the tortilla.
So it's like a build your own burrito, and then you get half of a bowl still.
Yeah, no, seriously.
Nice.
So it equals the size about a burrito you would get, and so it's like eating a burrito with an additional half a bowl.
Nice.
And so I feel like I get more like
it's probably cheaper too than buying
that way,
like a bowl and then a burrito.
Oh, 100%. If I'm really in a hurry, then I just get a bowl.
Nice.
Right. That's kind of like, what's yours?
I switch up the rices. Brown rice or white rice. I'll do black and brown beans, extra beans, extra fajita veggies, and I'll do corn salsa, medium, a little bit of hot.
Medium too. Okay.
I do medium. I'll do pico too. I switch it up.
Okay.
And then I'll do guac and lettuce.
Okay. Nice.
I mean, boring and basic, I guess, but like it's not exciting with vegetables.
Do you get? Are you the type of guy that like will kind of order the same thing?
I've had the same Subway order since I was like 12,
Okay, same.
or 13.
You find like the most amount of things that you can get on it that you like, and then that's it.
Yes, like my coffees, I drink the same thing. It's a vanilla cinnamon oat latte or a cold brew every morning, like religiously. Like that is my go-to. Like I call it like the classic Clinton coffee because of my coffee.
Okay, right.
And like that's my go-to. And like once I find something that I'm like, okay, I like this. I know how it's made. I'm gonna do it. And like dinner, like I live alone. I make the same thing almost every night, but it's a variation of things. It's like basically a burrito bowl of sorts. Just I swap out the greens and legumes, and then so it's on rotation, so it's not the same, but it's also the staple is the same.
Are you into like decision fatigue? Like, you know, I don't have to think about what I'm wearing that day because I'm just like wearing the same thing every day. I get the same order, and so like my mental space is like focused on here, and I'm not making a million little decisions before I go to work.
I appreciate people like that, and I thought about like same like for my like wardrobe, like throwing out everything or donating it, and just wearing all black,
right? Because
I think all black. It's just I prefer wearing black clothing.
Yeah.
And like I think that's great, but for me, like I don't do that. Like I like to have options. I'm just a terrible decision maker unless I'm under pressure.
Sure.
Like in the mornings, I'm like I have no clue what I'm wearing, except like little things like coffee. Like my first hour, my morning is typically the same. But then after that, I'm like, okay, like what are we doing today? Like how like different changes in a sense, I guess, decisions, things of that sort. But I mean, I still have a pretty typical, I guess, routine in a sense.
Okay.
It's like I don't have to make as many decisions. And like I guess when it comes out to like eating food and stuff, I don't have as many options being vegan and dairy free and things of that sort. So it's like I have less options anyways. So I don't have as big of a like decision fatigue as others.
I also think too, I'm not running $1 billion company here.
Yeah.
I can afford to decide what I'm wearing that day.
Yeah, like,
You know,
I
like-
have time.
I'm not making like life-altering, multi-million-dollar decisions
Yeah.
that will determine if family, like, you know,
Like, do I
employees'
wear the
families
black
are
shirt or
fed
the
that
white
night.
shirt. It's like,
Exactly.
I wasted an extra 30 seconds. And I also
Yeah.
don't think if I own $1 billion company
kids are gonna
that I
starve.
would. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like owning $1 billion company, I get it's a lot of a headache, but like I also feel like I would have enough leverage and staff that I wouldn't need to save those 30 seconds, or
Right.
60 seconds,
Right.
to actually decide, can I put jeans on today or should I just wear my black slacks?
And I think higher up you go into the world of successful people, you'll find a lot more of just personal preference. And
Yeah.
like some guys are like, you know, no, I sleep until 9 every day. And that's like works for me. I get my best mental focus. And then some guys are like, no, I don't, like I only 4 hours of sleep. And you know, and so a lot of it's kind of like, what is your kind of goal? And a lot of people's goal is just to make money, but eventually you get to a point where it's like, okay, like is my goal just to make as much money as I can? Or is it like, because I want to buy that car,
Yeah.
or buy the house, I want to be financially free or whatever it is, where there's some people like, I think there's like the one famous guy who's like on Instagram and TikTok or whatever. He's like, my first day starts from like 12 to 6. My second day starts from 6 to 12. He's like,
I've seen that.
I have 3 days a week. You know, and like a lot of people have from 3 to 5, I do 5 minutes of gratitude. And then I have from 5 to 6, it's like
The time blockers.
yeah, like, but like insane,
Intense
insane.
time blockers, yeah.
And I'm like, for me, personal preference wise here, if my life ends up like that, then I think I failed.
I agree.
Like that's not my vision for myself and being successful. Like for that person, it could work very well.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, that would be a prison.
I agree. Not that
that's
it would
not
be
my
a prisoner
goal.
that you failed, but also same for me. Like I
Yeah.
feel like I would also consider myself a failure if I'm like, oh, I'm only going to spend 5 minutes on this, because also it's like,
Life, where's life?
Yeah,
like what's the purpose of life?
yeah,
then?
like
You know,
if
like
I'm living like a robot, then like
Yeah.
if I'm making whatever I am money wise to make my life the way that it is, to have it that structure, it's like I don't want it.
it's like, well, if you are that religiously like time blocked from 8 to 8:05, X is like, how free is your life?
Literally, that's so true.
You can't actually wake up and just say, I'm going to go to Paris.
Yeah,
Because you're going to be on plane for 6 hours and that's going to cut into your 5-minute session of journaling.
Yeah.
You know, like,
as a realtor, I have an office of incredible people. I think the youngest agent in our office. And like last month, I got deemed top 10 agents for GCI, which is gross commission income for December.
wow, that's awesome.
So just because I'm 19 doesn't mean that I'm not at the same like playing field as a 20-year-old or a 30-year-old or a 40-year-old that's in our office selling real estate. It's like, just because I'm 19 doesn't make me less than. It's more of like we're on the same playing field. We're doing the same thing. So just because, so what I'm trying to say is basically, your circle doesn't have to be your age. They just need to be at the same level as you when it comes to business.
And I feel like most people that are outside of the entrepreneurial realm, they do base circles and friends, and they do categorize by age.
Yeah. Line of business, I don't tell anyone my age. I'm, again, tall and have tattoos. So I'm like, at least I can present myself a little older than 19. And also try and come off a lot more mature and mentally, but also physically mature. So it's like I try and not present my age when I talk to people. Like for example, I have a TC, it's a transaction coordinator in real estate. We were on the phone yesterday. He's 28. He didn't know I was 19 until yesterday. But like, we've never met in person. So he's only seen me in like the work that I'm providing to him to do for me. And it would never have made him think that I'm 19. So just because he's, I guess, what would it be? 8.5-ish years older than me.
That's funny you say that, because I was on a Zoom call the other day with my brother who just turned 30, and they were asking if I was older.
Oh, nice.
And it made me feel good in a way where like, maybe I'm not going to like that comment when I'm 80 and be like, you think I look old, but who I am, they can't put an age on that, so to speak. And it's interesting because like even the Bible has that one verse. It's like, let no one look down on you on your youth.
Yeah.
I feel like people that are outside of the business, personal development, entrepreneurial world, they do naturally kind of do that. Like, what's he doing here? Like,
Yeah,
is he
why is the kid in the
someone's
corner?
younger brother? Like, are they just like bring your kid to school day?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Maybe some of it is just like they purely don't think like, I don't know what I have in common with you, or maybe there's a little bit of a jealousy, or just a little bit of preconceived like, oh, just wait till you grow up and you got to get a real job or whatever it is. And there's like, it can be a little harder to interact with them outside of that. But then the funny part is a lot of those people are your customers. And so that's the thing. It's not like, okay, well, I'm not going to hire that guy. Like, okay, who cares? It was like, no, these are like your customers or your clients. And so that's the part for me that I feel like could be similar to you in real estate and stuff, is like overcoming that a little bit is maybe for us, like we in a way we have to work twice as hard,
Yeah.
because
we're young and we have to prove it. And
we can't just ignore them.
Yeah.
We need them. They're our customers.
It's like, please let me do the service that I offer
Exactly.
to you. But okay, going back, sorry, I'm now getting scatterbrained to the like 15, 16-year-olds that are wanting to be entrepreneurs in high school. One, you got to fake your confidence. Even if you have no confidence, it could be on the floor. Fake it until you make it, because then you will have real confidence. And if you can prove your worth, you don't need to prove your age. And I found that out with my clientele. Like I work with a lot of clients of different, I guess, wealth categories in a sense. I have first-time home buyers all the way to people who have multiple investment properties that bring in and are also entrepreneurs. And a lot of my clients just happen to be young entrepreneurs too. So it's super cool to be like, look, I sometimes will use my age to as an advantage. Sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, I opened a coffee shop at 16. And they're like, okay, well, how old are you now? So I sometimes use my words carefully, but I'll also just let them know, like, oh, I'm a young entrepreneur too.
Right.
I don't tell many clients this, but I'm 19 years old. This is what I've done. And then I give them my track record. And that really creates that trust with them. They're like, oh, we didn't know you were just 19 and you've already been doing all of these things. Or sometimes if they ask my age, I'm like, okay, I'll tell you at the closing table. And then at the closing table, I'm like, oh, I'm 19 years old. And a lot of times I don't do that, but sometimes I'll throw that in. And if they bring it up again, I'll let them know.
I feel like that might be also like a good way of building a little bit of rapport or like authenticity with them, is like when you, if like that phrase, like I normally don't tell most people this, but I'm 19.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, like we're like,
yeah. And
we're
like
special,
when they come and like
know?
and it's almost like, at least real estate, it's a mind game in a sense, not like a manipulation game, but a sense of like,
sure, it's a negotiation.
yeah, you've got to play your cards correctly because you only have so much of the deck in your hand.
Right. One thing about you're saying about like confidence and faking it till you make it. My dad and I kind of like founded this together, or like a realization together, that a lot of times confidence is based off of your history of doing something. So like, I'm confident at shooting the free throw because I've shot 100 free throws. I know I'm going to make it in. And so confidence comes from, you know that you can do it or you've done it. And so when it is your first time, you don't necessarily have that inherent confidence, but what you can have and what you can show is courage.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing that, whether it's doing something for the first time in business, doing something for the first time in life, or I'm going to go up to that girl and ask for her number.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, okay, you're not going to be confident, but you can show courage.
Yeah.
And once you do it 100 times or 10 times,
that'll build the
then
confidence.
it will build the confidence,
That's
and then
so
it'll be easy peasy. Because a lot of people like show confidence, and it's kind of like how or like where necessarily is that confidence going to come from? Like, you're not always going to be at that peak where you're like, you just feel confident because you had a good breakfast that morning. Yeah. Where you just have to show up and show courage. Yeah. It's okay to not have confidence. It's okay to be scared.
Still do it. Do
it. Show courage.
Yeah. That's so good.
Kind of like discipline versus motivation thing. Like, 100%. That's kind of big right now on Instagram, is like, motivation, up and down, and like discipline is just like the steady.
That's so true too. Cause like motivation, I'm never motivated. Like this morning, like I'll say I didn't go to the gym like I was going to. My alarm was set for 5 o'clock. I got up at 7. It happens. But like discipline is something I didn't have this morning, of like, I should have gotten up at 5 o'clock. Right. And that's, you just have to continue to push yourself and to be disciplined, because you want something, you're going to work towards it. And if you allow yourself to only do it when you're motivated, then you're not going to achieve it. So
that's true. I think also part of it is when you do have those days where like you sleep in, or you didn't work out, or maybe it's something a little bigger, like, you missed a meeting, or you did something because, something bad or not, to a degree, you would have wanted to do better. You get up earlier, or go to the gym or whatever. When you are playing the long game, and also when you are playing long term, it's like you realize like, I can make up for it by going to the gym tomorrow. Yeah. And like, I can get back on track. I'm just gonna go to the gym tomorrow. I didn't ruin the rest of my year because I didn't go to the gym today.
Just because you fall off once doesn't mean you don't need to stay falling off.
Exactly.
And I also think too, again, going back to the younger entrepreneurs, or really just anyone looking to become an entrepreneur, to follow the entrepreneurial journey, is the one thing I didn't do while having the coffee shop was prioritize rest. That was something that I do regret, and I think I should have been better at practicing, is resting. So like, I think I said this earlier, I now try and Sabbath, and I'm not perfect, but I try and Sabbath once a week. So no work, no worry, no want. Phones on do not disturb. Okay. I don't work. I don't think of work. My mind still tries to think of work, and in that time I'm like, no, like I don't want to work today. And having that boundary with people of like, I'm not working on Saturdays it can wait until tomorrow. If it's a dire emergency, call me and I might answer. I might not. But even so, like this morning, instead of going to the gym, I got an extra 2 hours of sleep. My body needed that though.
Yeah.
So I think it's also super important to listen to your body, but not listen to your body every day when you're like, oh, I don't want to go to the gym.
Right.
Because that's a lack of discipline and a lack of motivation. But if there's an occasional time where you slip up and eat an extra cupcake, or if you sleep in an extra couple of hours, if you're not late to work,
right.
obviously,
Yeah.
or there's no consequence to that.
Uh-huh.
Let yourself too. I think that's a
Yeah.
big thing that I was super restrictive on, is like, I have to be perfect. And like my schedule needs to look, again, back to social media, of like my schedule needs to look like their
Right.
schedule, and like it needs to be beautiful. And like there's nothing beautiful about being an entrepreneur when it comes to the fast working and the fast paced life. Like it is beautiful in its own, but like it's not aesthetic, I should say.
So one thing on that is most people don't understand is like, let's say, oh, okay, I slept in 2 hours today. And a lot of people are like, see, like that's the beauty of being an entrepreneur. You can sleep in 2 hours. But a lot of people don't realize is that means you're doing 2 hours extra of work
Yes.
that night. And
like,
so now you're up to 12 or you're up till 2 or whatever, like was past your bedtime.
Yeah.
Or maybe just cuts into your, when you were going to kind of stop and you were going to go to dinner or you're going to chill for the night or whatever. Like now you're doing it that night.
Oh, literally last night I did sleep in this morning, but last night I was on my computer until 8:30. I called my parents to check in. It was still 7:30. I was still on my computer working. Like I had work to be done. I was eating dinner at my desk. Thankfully, again, being an entrepreneur, you work from home a little bit, work from the office, depending on your setup and schedule.
Right.
But like I went to the office, was there most of the day, came home, cooked dinner, went back to my desk, went back to work because I had work to be done. I still had work to be done, but I was like, I'm exhausted. I have to go to bed. Like I literally, like, let's just pull up my calendar. If you're also looking to become an entrepreneur, download Google Calendar. That is, like, my schedule has been full back to back from 8 o'clock to like 5 o'clock for the past multiple days.
Is Google Calendar where it's at?
Google Calendar's where it's at. I use that, and I also use Time Tree because I use that for my employees. Like, clock-out calendar.
Can you have a calendar that like alert you? Like you have this in 30 minutes.
Yes, you can set it. So mine are all 10 minutes prior. So like I have like, here was my today.
And that's
I have
on
it all
Google?
set up. Yeah, it's Google. So it connects to your computer too. So I get notifications on my phone, and I also get notifications on my MacBook. So like as I'm working.
Do you have them linked?
Or I do have them linked.
Okay.
No, I have them linked. I didn't have them linked for a while.
Same. I literally just linked it a week ago.
It's awesome because then it's like
Text
everything's
and
in
everything.
one. So yeah, so I also have monitors. So I have my MacBook,
nice.
and then I have 2 monitors. Plug them into my MacBook, so I have a mega computer.
Nice.
So I have multiple screens. I got text messages going. I've got emails going. I've got my calendar. So like my MacBook stays open on my calendar.
Okay.
I have to just be able to reflect on that throughout the day to make sure I'm staying on task.
Okay.
And then I have my 2 big monitors that I use for work. And I have different things going on at work, so I'm able to split my screens, which is super, super convenient.
So did before you'd have to like airdrop or like text from your iCloud account on the
Yes.
laptop
So sometimes I would
to your
text
phone?
myself on my MacBook that would then go to my phone or airdrop it or whatnot. But now they're linked, so that's super nice too. Because like sometimes like I always have my AirPods in, so like I'm always listening to music, listening to podcasts. I don't ever really touch my phone throughout the day unless I'm on a call. So like it's super nice to be able to respond to text messages or even answer FaceTimes or phone calls on my MacBook. And it's all linked. And also like you can your AirPods you can link to your computer and your phone at the same time. So like I'm getting both. I had a coffee appointment this morning it's with a friend, so it wasn't like an appointment, but like in my mind, it's on the calendar. Shout out to Brian. But like he texted me on
squeeze him in
Monday, and I was like, I don't have it on the calendar. Thankfully, I had time this morning, but like if it's not on the calendar, it doesn't happen. So like if people want me to do something, I'm like, make sure I'm putting it on my calendar as we're speaking, or it's not going to happen because my life is so go that if it's not on the calendar, I'm sorry.
Before we like wrap up, show us the coffee a little bit.
So these are vanilla oat cold brew. So we have our own roasters here in Nashville. Shout out to Pin Cup Coffee. They're sisters that work full-time jobs. One of them owns the CrossFit gym with their husband. Maybe both of them do. I don't know. But they roast out of their CrossFit gym. They have it. So it's fully certified.
That's
Pin
cool.
Cup Coffee roasters in Nashville are great. So they roast an exclusive blend for us. It's called the Love Well blend. We don't sell it anywhere. It's just for our coffee carts, as well as our bottles.
Okay.
So we also have what's called the Cold Brew Club, which are these bottles. So like they're 10-ounce bottles. You can pick your flavors, like your milks, and then your coffee. So you can get them black, and then we'll deliver them directly to your door for free. Yeah.
This has got to be something that's fairly new.
It's very new. So I also don't.
So what does that entail? Like as a customer too, like how does that work?
So they place an order on our website, clincoffee.com/cold brew club. Also, Klyn is KLYN for the last 4 letters of my name. A lot of people pronounce it Kaylin, which is fine, but it's Klyn.
It's Klyn.
So where was I going with this? So
how customer orders?
Yes, they order online through our website. They pick with a minimum of 4 orders or 4 bottles per order. So 4. These are meant to be shaken well and added over ice. You can drink them like that. They're fine.
Okay.
But they're meant to be added over ice. So it's almost like the coffee shops at home. The whole goal is to bring the coffee shop coffee, like the whole coffee shop menu, to your house. So if you want to order matcha lattes, chai lattes, things of that nature.
Something you couldn't really make at home, maybe.
Yeah, because people try to make coffee at home, but like your Keurig is not the same. Like the brewing process on all this, and like these do need to be chilled because it's fresh.
It tastes really good.
Thank you. I chill them tomorrow morning. They'll taste so much better. I promise.
Okay, so I'll drink half and put it in the fridge.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like if you chill them, we chill them 24 hours before we deliver. But they can order online and they can mix and match too. It's not like all 4 black or 4 vanilla oat.
Okay.
So they can get 4 preferences, or if you have roommates and want to order one, delivery is free, and then we deliver them in little like craft paper bags that we staple shut with our business card. But I've closed the bottle orders down until spring of 2024.
Okay.
Because I'm merging my coffee cart. I use that for real estate. So the coffee cart's in luxury apartments to then create familiarity with myself and my brand in the apartments. Because if you live in a luxury apartment, you don't have a house.
Right.
And they're not going to let a realtor in a luxury apartment. But I'm now rebranding my coffee and real estate to Coffee on the House. So Clean Coffee is the coffee brand, the cold brew brand itself. Coffee on the House is my real estate brand and coffee cart brand.
Okay.
That will then pop up in open houses. So every Sunday, 1 to 4 o'clock, we'll be in some sort of luxury listing. And you can come get free coffee. So it's a good way to like build rapport with people that don't have a realtor. Because it's like, look, I'm a realtor. I serve good coffee. You'll always have Coffee on the House. It's on me throughout the entire transaction. So not only am I a good realtor, but I'm also going to be that person and that resource for you.
One thing I really like about that is I love seeing different people in business that they take something that is seemingly unrelated and they put it together, but it's because it's something that is them. It's not just like a coffee business or a real estate business. It's like a Kirklyn business.
Yeah.
And I like coffee and I like real estate.
Yeah. Like what do
business
these have
is
in
both.
common? Yeah. Like
what does coffee and real estate have in common? Kirklyn.
Yeah.
That's
I'm trying to like create connections to, and like with open houses, like I want to be able to build a large business and eventually have a real estate team. And I've never liked open houses because I have to then turn them into clients.
Right.
And if they've gone to like say 5 houses, and I text them, thank you so much for coming to 123 Main Street. This is Kirklyn, blah 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 blah. If I don't have anything to connect me to that house, they're not going to remember me. Right. And like, how am I going to earn their business? But if I can say, I hope you enjoyed your coffee, and like, I'm confident in my coffee, and I've already been told by my real estate coach, he's like, you're going to have people copying you, and it's okay. They can serve Keurig coffee. I'm confident in my coffee, and it's coffee's very intricate. It's very hard, and like I've been in the coffee business for over 6 years now, so it's like I got it. It's fine.
So what is your radius? I know you'll deliver until spring, but what is the order radius?
Until we get big enough, I will pretty much anywhere like 30 minutes within downtown Nashville.
Okay.
So I deliver. And this is a great opportunity for me to just to like grow my real estate business too, like the Governor's Club in Brentwood.
Okay. Yep.
Delivered there, down in Franklin. I wouldn't really want to go up into like Hendersonville or Lebanon or anywhere like another town, but like Nashville Metro, things of that sort. And like if anyone has questions, you can email me or DM me on Instagram, and if I can make it, I'll let you know. Some people have reached out like, can you come to Spring Hill or like Columbia? And it's like, that's kind of far for me unless I charge a delivery fee, because delivery is free. So really, like, you can get $18 plus tax, and you'll have 4 bottles of coffee dropped off at your door.
So free. Is there a minimum order of 4?
Minimum order of 4, yeah. So I mean, it's pretty cheap too, in my sense of like, if you take it in range of a coffee shop, because like I'm not asking for a tip, I'm not asking for delivery, and you're not having to get out of your house. And like the whole goal behind it is to have that high quality coffee shop coffee just at home, shake well, out over ice, and post me on social media. Like say like, this is what we're having with our breakfast.
So 18 for 4, so that is.
So it's $5.50 for whole milk, or $8 or $6 for oat milk, which is our most popular, and that includes the flavor too. So like it's a flat charge per bottle, plus tax.
So that's about. So they get 4 $5.50. That's gonna be like $22.
Yeah,
or something. So for $22, so that's about, if they went to a coffee shop.
Yeah, I did the math wrong. It's 24, and I was thinking 18. That's only 3 bottles.
That's why I was
sorry.
Slow.
No,
you're good. I was slow because I was like trying to figure out how 18 kind of fit with $5.50.
No, my bad.
Like,
no, that was only 3 bottles.
I don't want to sound stupid on the podcast. Like you're doing crazy math over here.
Yeah, no, you're right. So 24 for oat milk, or it would be 22
or around there.
Yeah.
Okay. So if someone goes to a coffee shop, they're gonna spend more than that actually. Right?
Yeah, like
it's gonna be $7-8.
Yeah. Plus, then they obligate you to like a 15, 20, or 25+% tip.
It's like a little tax, a little tip.
Yeah.
Little this, little that.
And like you have to leave your home. So my whole thing is like, it's priced similar to a coffee shop because it's high quality coffee. Like we have our own roasters in Nashville, but it's also the convenience that you're paying for.
Yeah, I mean, if they do drink it out of the bottle, it's portable. Like it's good. To
Yeah,
go.
you
like,
can take it on the go
take
too.
You can go from a marketing standpoint. People bring their coffee everywhere.
Yeah.
So they're gonna bring it to work. They're gonna bring it home. They're gonna bring it to their job if they're on vacation. Let's grab coffee first. It's like cool. It's like coffee ends up everywhere.
Yep.
And so this could end up everywhere.
Yeah.
That's cool. What was like the specialty drink, like the staple,
We had some specialty coffees. The Lone Oak was what we called it. So we used, shout out to May. She was one of my managers that worked for me. She helped name all of our like coffee combos. So the Lone Oak was a white chocolate and salted caramel latte.
Ooh.
That was super popular, making that as a breve, so half and half. That was probably one of my best sellers.
That sounds sweet, like a sweet.
It was our coffees were
drink.
way too sweet, but people enjoyed them. And then we did infused Red
Midwesterners.
Bulls.
I feel like it's like either black coffee or it's sweet coffee.
Yeah, and like this was like too sweet. I was told by my parents like, why are you putting so much sugar in
You know
these
how many
drinks?
people you gave diabetes?
And I'm like, I'm here to make money. I don't care. They like it, and we're gonna give them what they like.
You're like, I'm getting into healthcare next. Okay.
Yeah, that's
repeat
my next
customers.
Yeah, I know. But that, and then we had an orange dreamsicle Red Bull. So we did an orange infused Red Bull over ice, and then we did a vanilla sweet cream cold foam.
Wow.
And that was also one of our really popular specials.
So these are like crafted drinks. These aren't this
We
isn't
had
like, okay, what flavor you want? Caramel, mocha, like this is there's some character to them.
So in the coffee shop, and it was crazy too because it was a drive-through. So like we had no sit down, and we served.
So you had to be fast.
Fast, yes. So we had the iPad out taking their order. We had people inside working the espresso machine, working the blenders because we did smoothie bowls.
Okay.
And then we had someone at the window taking care of them. We had runners, and then in the back, we did all the breakfast sandwiches and the salads. We did homemade muffins from scratch. Shout out to Zoe. Poor Zoe. She was my first ever employee. I made her come in. She was the first employee that came in, so she was the first to get to leave. She would prep our salad stuff, make our homemade muffins every morning. We made granola for our smoothie bowls. Like it was insane.
Wow.
And like people ask, like, how did it happen? How did it work? And it's like, God, like, there was
no
way that should have worked.
Yeah.
Because we were 20 and under running a business that we sold thousands of coffees.
That's amazing.
In a small town of 6,000 people. Like it was not feasible. It should
That's
not
supposed
have
to happen.
worked. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like we had lines that blocked traffic. Like it was insane. And people would be like, oh, like who owns this? And like, oh, the guy over there. Like the child?
Yeah.
The child owns
I was gonna
this?
ask where his parents were.
Yeah, like this is parents, and they're like, no, like you guys don't understand. Like he owns this, and like we got to build like personal relationships with our client or I guess customers, and it was just a great experience. Like I will forever cherish the people that worked with me and the friendships that we created and the business that I got to grow from it.
Well,
Also,
I think we'll end with
thank
that.
you. This is great. Thank you so
This
much for
was
having
fun.
me.
Thanks
I feel
so much.
honored to be here,
Absolutely.
and it's been